If you're in the market for one of the top-of-the-line PC gaming handhelds, this comparison video is for you. In today's video, I'm putting the top 3 premium PC gaming handhelds head-to-head to find out which one is the best and which one you should buy. And the answer might actually surprise you, or not. If you watch enough of my videos, you probably know exactly what I'm going to say. This is a strong intro I put together. Over the past few years, the PC gaming handheld world has become increasingly more crowded, but it actually took longer than I thought before we had a bunch of options that were actually good. There's like tens of gaming handhelds out there. I thought it'd be a bigger number, but it's like tens. It's less than 100. And for the first time, there's more than like 2 that I actually recommend. In this video in particular, I'm comparing 3 different handhelds, the Lenovo Legion Go 2, the ROG Xbox Ally X, and the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. Each one of these handhelds are $1,000 or more, and they offer top-of-the-line performance. But there are differences between each one of these handhelds that honestly make your buying decision a bit harder than you would expect. But since I've already mentioned price, let's start things off with the price point. The ROG Xbox Ally X, which is the top of the line ROG Xbox Ally, comes in at a retail price of $999. There's a cheaper version that comes in at $599. It comes with white plastic, which if you guys know anything about plastic, it means that the tech runs a little bit slower. I'm joking. If you don't think I'm joking, I'm joking. And if you want to check out that full review and why I think you probably shouldn't buy that handheld, make sure to click the link somewhere on your screen. The higher end version, though, the ROG Xbox Ally X, is the more powerful version. It comes in the faster black plastic, and it comes in at a retail price of just under $1,000. Realistically, after taxes, it's gonna be over $1,000. Next up is the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. Now, this handheld did start at $899 originally, but over the last couple months, the price has bumped up to $999. And in this new Arctic white color, it's actually $1,029, because apparently in this case, the plastic does make it faster, which is odd, because it is white. Again, joking. But the price point is generally the same as the ROG Xbox Ally X. But now we get to the big dog. This is a Lenovo Legion Go 2. It comes in at a starting price of $1099 for a version that I don't totally recommend. The one though that I think most people should get is the mid-tier version, which comes in at $1349. And if you want to get the top of the line one, which comes with double the internal storage, it's almost $1,500. I think it's like $1,480 or something like that. This is a mid-tier one. This is the one that I think most people should get. And it's $350 more expensive than the other two. Now, with that being said, as it is in life, the more that you pay, generally the more that you get, and that does stay true with the Lenovo Legion Go 2. And for some people, grabbing this might be the smart thing to do. And speaking of smart things to do, check out the sponsor of today's video. But first, I want to give a huge thank you to Opera and their new Neon browser for supporting the channel. This is the first time in years that I've actually thought about my internet browser, and that's ironic because this browser actually makes the amount of thinking I have to do less. This is Opera Neon, not just a browser, but your personal AI-powered assistant. So I've been using Neon for the last few weeks, and it's wild. It doesn't just respond to your prompts, it acts. It's literally a web browser with its own AI that does some pretty incredible stuff. It has completely changed my workflow, specifically when it comes to researching my upcoming videos. Whenever I'm looking for a new product to test, I'll just ask it, what's new and interesting? I'll specifically use the Neon Do feature, which will scour the internet for cool and interesting stuff, and then open up all the most useful tabs to help me learn about it. All of that from the first prompt. And it's crazy because it does all of it in front of you too. It's like you're watching someone else do it for you. Once I've got an idea for a video, Tasks helps me organize my work into smart focused spaces where AI can compare tabs and analyze content. And it knows to only reference and act within the content and context that I asked it to. But it gets even more intense. Neon Make allows you to make software. It literally builds it offline with source files. For example, recently I wanted to make an app to rank the top 10 sneakers of the year. This was for my main channel, by the way. Check it out if you like sneakers. But I asked it to build me a program that ranks the 10 most popular sneakers, and boom, there you go. Opera Neon is the next generation in web browsing. I've been consistently blown away by just how useful these AI features are. Whether you're researching news across tabs, building tools, or just skipping to the good part of a video, Neon's fully agentic AI does it for you. So check out Opera Neon. Agentic browsing starts here. Join the waitlist for Opera Neon by clicking the link in the description below, and huge thank you once again to Opera for supporting today's content. So each one of these handhelds have strengths and weaknesses, and the strength of the ROG Xbox Ally X is its form factor. It makes this handheld incredibly comfy to hold, because essentially they took an Xbox controller, split it in half, and slapped a tablet in the middle. You've got haptic triggers, at least on the X variant of the ROG Xbox Ally X. You've got some nice buttons on the face that do a good job of being clicky but not feeling mushy. The joysticks, really good. I like the grips a lot. On the rear of the device, you've got these 2 programmable buttons that are small, but they aren't difficult to click, and they're also not easy to click when you don't want to click them, which is a huge plus. And generally, the comfort level of this handheld is absurd. It is the comfiest handheld I've ever held. And honestly, when I'm traveling, I end up generally taking this handheld because I also like the fact that it's a bit smaller than the other 2 handhelds. While sure, that does come with some downsides, like a smaller screen, which we'll get into in a minute, it does mean it's easier to throw in my backpack. And again, the grips feel incredible. The haptic triggers feel good. The rumble in the grips themselves feels really, really solid. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that the screen is kind of angled forward a bit. All right, maybe it's not the screen itself, maybe it's the angle of the grips, but the grips feel like they're angled a little bit too far back. It is something that I got used to. I made a big stink about it in the review, and I still don't love it, but the more that I played it, the more that I got used to it, and I've kind of gotten used to holding it in the way that you kind of have to hold it to make sure that there's no glare on the screen, because the screen is glossy. Now, as far as the ergonomics go for the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus, they're good. It is a little bit of an odd form factor because the bottom of the device gets a little bit thicker than the top of the device, which is also the case for the ROG Xbox Ally, but because you don't have these grips on there, it just kind of feels like you've got these like bumps in your palms, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's also a pretty large device, so if you have smaller hands, maybe not a way to go. However, that being said, they do give you some nice ridges on the back, so your fingers do kind of rest nicely on the back of the device. The joystick placement is good, the buttons are clicky, the D-pad's fine, gets the job done. The triggers feel a little small, but they're not bad. I didn't have any issues with them. I like the texture on them. And while it's definitely not as comfortable as the ROG Xbox Ally X, it's still fine. It's not gonna bother you, you're not gonna feel uncomfortable, and I like the more standard form factor to where the screen is just kind of where it's supposed to be. Finally, we get to the Lenovo Legion Go, and there's a couple things about this handheld that make it different. First of all, it's huge. It is a massive handheld. You've got a giant screen, which we'll talk about, and because of that, the device itself is very, very big. Now, the actual grips on the device do feel really nice, significantly better than the Lenovo Legion Go original version, or OG, because that version had these sharp edges. They've now rounded the edges, which make it fit in your palm so much better. The grips also kind of curve inwards as you move towards the bottom of the device, which honestly makes it feel better in the hand than the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. And of course, if you didn't know, you've got removable controllers on the side, which you can use for different things, like FPS mode, which essentially makes the right trigger vertical mouse. If you're into that, you can do first-person shooting mode that way. It's kind of nice. It's also kind of like a switch in the way that if maybe you're on an airplane, you want to set it up with the kickstand on the back, by the way. This is the only one that has a kickstand. Set it up with the kickstand on like your tray table, and then, because it's such a heavy device, hold your controllers on your lap so you don't have to hold the device the entire flight. You can basically play like this, which is pretty nice. The controllers are actually very light, in my opinion, almost too light. But I do think it does help when you want to play for long periods of time and not hold this giant, hefty tablet. Which, by the way, it is hefty. This is a heavy device, significantly heavier than the other two. And also, size-wise, it is significantly bigger as well. Maybe not significantly bigger than the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus, but significantly bigger than the ROG Xbox Ally X. Also, getting these grips back on, or getting the controllers back on, not easy. There we go. Man, every time. The button placement, though, generally is fine. The joysticks feel very, very smooth. The D-pad feels fine. The face buttons are good. You do have a lot of menu buttons on the face of the device. You actually have 6. Where this gets a little odd, though, is the fact that you've got tons of buttons on the side of the device, 2 that actually rest in your palm when you're playing, and that's because when you play this in FPS mode, these are mouse click buttons, which I'm never going to do ever again, so I honestly wish that they weren't here because it does kind of feel weird to like grip up your device and then be pressing these buttons. Again, not a huge deal, you get used to it, but very, very odd. I understand why they did it, but still. You've got a scroll wheel on the back in addition to a couple other rear buttons, which are programmable, obviously. The scroll wheel only works in certain apps. You can't actually program it to do anything, unlike the other programmable buttons, which is frustrating, but it does work in games. I didn't think it would when it was on the device, but it does work in some games. And the triggers are nice. They're big, they fit in your hands nicely, and the rumble's fine. Plus, you got a touchpad. Actually, this is the only device out of the 3 that has a touchpad, so if you're into that. But now let's talk about performance. And as you would expect, because the Lenovo Legion Go 2 is the most expensive by $350, it is technically the most powerful. And the reason for that is not only because in the mid-tier version and higher-end version, you've got an AMD Ryzen Z2 Extreme, but it's also because it comes with 32 gigabytes of memory. Now again, the cheaper version of this device, the $1,000 or $1,100 version, doesn't come with the Z2 Extreme, it just comes with the Z2, and it also comes with less RAM, so seriously, if you're going for the top-of-the-line performance, get the more expensive one. Now because of the extra RAM, in most situations, you can get higher frame rates in most games. Now you are driving a bigger screen than the ROG Xbox Ally X, it's higher resolution, it's a faster frame rate, and it is OLED, so you are going to need a bit more power and a bit more juice to get this guy looking real fresh. But overall, you get higher frame rates on this device compared to something like the ROG Xbox Ally X. Speaking of which, the ROG Xbox Ally X, while it does come with a very similar chipset to what you get in the Lenovo Legion Go 2, it actually comes with a slightly upgraded chip. Instead of having a Z2 Extreme, it's got an AI Z2 Extreme, or Z2 Extreme AI, or whatever they call it. Now, the difference here is that apparently the AI, whenever it's enabled, because it's not enabled yet, will make this device run more efficiently and hopefully give you higher frame rates, and until that happens, we'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, from what I could tell, the chipset seems almost identical. Now, where this device sort of falls short of the Go 2 is the fact that this only comes with 24 gigabytes of RAM, which surprisingly doesn't have as big of an impact as you would expect. Now, based on my own personal experience, I found that the frame rates on these two devices are very, very similar, much more similar than you would expect. And when it comes to actually playing AAA games, you get a very, very similar experience, and if you don't have the frame rate counter up, you wouldn't even be able to tell that they're different. I mean, sure, yes, it does look better on one device over the other because you've got a bigger screen, it's a nicer screen overall, that's fine, but when it comes to actual performance and smoothness, they feel very, very similar. In some situations, I found that the Go 2 had slightly higher frame rates, like 5-ish, maybe to 10, but in other situations, I found that the ROG Xbox Ally X had higher frame rates. Not by as much, like 2 to 3, but still, it was a very, very similar overall experience. So even though you're getting more RAM on this device, as of right now, it doesn't seem like it's making a huge difference. That being said, when it comes to future-proofing, more RAM, better. But now let's get into the weird one, the MSI Claw 8AI Plus. And the reason I call this the weird one is not because it has 32 gigabytes of RAM like the Lenovo Legion Go 2, but rather than running an AMD chipset, this one runs an Intel chipset. Now, when this device first came out, I found that there were some slight issues just because not all games were optimized for Intel. A lot of games that were meant to run on these devices were made for AMD because almost everyone used AMD. In fact, MSI's other device, the 8A or the A8, I'm not sure, it's not available in the US. That one actually has a Z2 Extreme. This one's really the only premium Intel option. It's got an Ultra 7 in it, and it runs really well as of right now. And that's because over the last almost year, there have been upgrades and improvements and driver updates and things like that that have really made this an incredibly powerful device. And compared to these other two devices, which just came out over the last month, this device generally runs more smoothly. And that's because, again, it's been out for a year, so they've worked out a lot of the bugs. Now, when it comes to future-proofing, that might not be the best because you've got a slightly older chip in there and it's been out for a year. But I will say, if you're trying to game right now, which I think everyone is, honestly, you might get the smoothest experience on this device. And again, it's got 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is really good. And when it comes to actual frame rates, while yes, this did lag behind the other two a tad, maybe like 2 to 5 frames in some situations, generally, it was right in line. So it's really hard to say that one is more powerful than the other. If I had to pick one that had consistently higher frame rates and generally ate through games the best, it would probably be the Lenovo Legion Go 2. But realistically, the MSI Claw 8AI Plus is also a really great option. And in some games, it did better than both the Xbox ROG Ally X and the Lenovo Legion Go 2. So what I would say is that when it comes to performance, they're all very, very similar. If you want to future-proof, go Lenovo Legion Go 2. If you want to change things up and go Intel and want to run a device that's already pretty well optimized because it's been out for a while, go the MSI Claw 8AI Plus, or if you want to go for a device that's still incredibly powerful and keeps up with these devices right now, then yeah, the ROG Xbox Ally X is the way to go, but maybe in like 2 or 3 years when you're playing the newest games on it compared to something like the Lenovo Legion Go 2, it might show some age. But maybe that AI chip is amazing and it just runs games incredibly well. I'm a consumer here. I'm not someone just benchmarking everything. I'm just playing games with the frame rate counter on and I'm counting the frames. That's what I do. So please, 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 if you know more than me, give people advice in the comment section down below, because most people watching this video probably do know more than me when it comes to all this sort of stuff. I just have these PCs and I've been playing them every day for the last couple months, and I'm just telling you guys my personal experience. Now, one similarity that all these devices have is that they all come with 1 terabyte of storage. Now, with that being said, if you want to upgrade to a 2 terabyte SSD, then go with the more expensive Lenovo Legion Go 2, the highest end version, because that's the biggest upgrade there, is that they double the storage in the device. And if you're planning to buy an SSD and install it yourself, the price that you pay to upgrade to the higher storage is about what you'd pay for the actual SSD, plus you don't have to open up this device. So in that situation, I would say buy the more expensive one. For these other two devices, you can upgrade them if you'd like to yourself. But now let's talk about the most obvious difference outside of actual form factor between each one of these devices, and that, of course, is the screen. First off, we've got the ROG Xbox Ally X. It comes with a 7-inch 1080p 120Hz display. This display gets, I believe, up to 500 nits of peak brightness, which is fine. And from what I can tell, it's actually the same exact screen that you have in the ROG Ally X from a couple years ago, which is kind of a bummer because while it's fine, and if it's the only device that you have, it definitely gets the job done, those bezels are looking thick, and honestly, I would have paid more money if it was OLED. I would do it. It'd be worth it. That being said, when it comes to gameplay, you're mainly going to be playing your games at 1080p. It's got 120 Hz refresh rate, which is more than enough to play any game pretty much that you'd want to play on it. And the 7 inches, while yes, it is small, that does allow the device to be a bit smaller, which means it's a bit easier to travel with. Now, that being said, because these bezels are so huge, you really could have expanded the screen a little bit. Just a little bit. Just kind of bump it up a bit. Color contrast is fine. Sharpness is nice. Everything about it is totally fine. I had no issues with it, especially being on a smaller 7-inch screen. 1080p is more than enough. Now, the MSI Claw 8AI Plus comes with an FHD Plus screen, meaning it's not the standard aspect ratio. It is an 8-inch screen, and it's 120 Hz capable, which is great. It is 120 Hz capable, which is nice, and the bezels on this device are significantly smaller than what you have on the ROG Ally X. Now, there is a kind of thick boy at the bottom. Now, there is definitely a thick one at the bottom, but it's not a huge deal, and it still feels like a massive screen, and it's also nice and bright, which I appreciate. It's not as bright as I would like it. I mean, you might notice in some of these B-roll shots, I'm just having so much trouble getting you to be able to see what's on the screen, and it's so reflective that, man, it was just kind of a struggle to film B-roll of this device. But overall, the screen's solid. I love the size. I feel like 8 inches is a really, really good size. If they could have made the body of the Xbox Ally X a little bit bigger to accommodate a slightly larger screen, I would be down with that. I feel like 8 inches is worth it. I feel like the bigger body, never mind. But now we get to the reason why the Lenovo Legion Go 2 is so much more expensive than the other devices. And that's because of this giant and beautiful 8.8-inch OLED display. And man, is it gorgeous. It's got small bezels, it's brighter than the other displays even though it's an OLED, and that color contrast is ridiculous. It's insane. Now the aspect ratio, kind of like the MSI Claw 8AI Plus, is a little bit odd, so there will be some letterboxing in certain games, but because it's an OLED display, those bars at the top and the bottom are just full on black, like inky black, so it just kind of looks like you've got larger bezels. The color is beautiful and vibrant, it's contrasty, it is truly a gorgeous display, and the fact that it's so big means you really get immersed into it. Plus it's 144 Hz, so it's fast and it's buttery. Everything about this screen makes this device feel like the most premium. I mean, the weight does that too, but the screen itself is probably the best screen that you can buy on any handheld gaming device. I've tried a lot of them, and this is by far the best you can buy. The OLED display on the Steam Deck OLED is great. It's lower resolution, but it's really great. Same thing with the Nintendo Switch OLED, another great screen, but they're both lower resolution displays. This is a 1080p display. Now, to be fair, they did drop the resolution down from last year's, or I guess a couple years ago, Lenovo Legion Go, which honestly, really not a huge deal, because I was never playing games at higher than 1080p anyway, and honestly, I think most people would take the trade-off. I would take the lower resolution for the OLED display, and realistically, you can't even really see, like, I can't pixel peep here, maybe a tiny bit, but even still, man, it's crazy. So by far and away, the best display. Now, unfortunately, because it is the most powerful device with the biggest and most beautiful screen, that does mean that the battery life is going to be the worst out of the bunch. Now, this device generally gets me from 2 hours to 2 hours and 15 minutes when I'm playing a AAA game, full TDP, full wattage, and at that bright level. You know what I'm saying? The bright. Now, obviously, you can optimize, you can drop down the TDP, you can lower the brightness, you can play games that maybe aren't Battlefield 6. Like if you're flying on a plane, you might not even be able to turn on Battlefield because I'm pretty sure it requires an internet connection, which is so dumb. I hate games that do that. But hey, most games do that now. Sucks. Of course, you can have it plugged in the whole time that you play it, which is not a bad way to go. You've got 2 USB-C ports. They're both USB Type 4, I believe, which is really cool, which means you can actually plug in like an eGPU if you really want to max out performance. And realistically, I mean, you can't be too surprised about the battery life being the worst because you really are getting the most when it comes to everything else. And if they put a bigger battery in there, this device would get even bigger and chunkier than it already is, and I'm fine with only getting 2 hours worth of gameplay. Next is the MSI Claw 8AI Plus. This comes with an 80 watt-hour battery, so it is slightly larger, and it does get slightly better battery life. I'm talking like, 15 extra minutes to around 2 hours and 30 minutes, generally around 2 hours and 20 minutes when playing AAA games at max levels. I will also say that while they all have pretty decent thermals, this one definitely gets the loudest. That's something else to note. It's very, very loud. Not as loud as the Lenovo Legion Go S, which I just had so much trouble with, that stupid device. It's a great device. I just think I got either a defective one or maybe I just suck at optimizing. But either way, that device pissed me off in a lot of different ways. This one though, generally good battery life and decent thermals, just loud fans. I know we're not talking about fans, but I hear them right now and it's just kind of bothering me. Oh, I should also mention that the MSI Claw 8AI Plus also has 2 USB ports at the top, and they are both Thunderbolt ports. So there you go, that's a plus. But now we get to the ROG Xbox Ally X. This device also has an 80 watt-hour battery, but because you're driving a smaller screen, and also as of right now, this is running the Xbox full screen experience, which is now available on both of the other devices, which actually shuts down some background tasks that the Windows desktop starts up, so it is running more efficiently at this moment until I install the full screen experience on these 2 other devices. This gets the best battery life, not by much, but it does. Generally, I get around 2.5 hours, sometimes more. I would say that this device consistently gets 2.5 hours of battery life when playing AAA games at max settings. Obviously, it depends on the game and the TDP and different things going on, but generally, I'd say that this has the best battery life by a couple minutes. Again, same thing as performance. It's not a huge difference, but if we're really nitpicking here, then this does seem to have the best battery life. One thing it doesn't have the best of, though, is the USB-C ports. You've got 2 on the top, only one of them is USB 4. This one on the right side. You'd want them both to be USB 4, but whatever, it is what it is. They also all have micro SD card slots and fingerprint readers on the power button. So overall, which one of these devices should you get? Well, the obvious answer for those of you that want the best of the best, the Lenovo Legion Go 2. Again, I'd recommend the mid-level version, but if you want that full-on 2 terabytes of storage, get the top of the line one. You're gonna spend $1,500, but realistically, this device is gonna last you years before it feels long in the tooth. Like genuinely, it is a powerful, powerful device. And that screen, I don't see any other handheld device coming out with a screen as nice as this for a couple years. So if you're going for future-proofing, if you're going for top-of-the-line performance, if you're going for the nicest screen, Lenovo Legion Go 2, easily. Now, if you want the smallest, most portable option that is also by far the most comfortable, the ROG Xbox Ally X is the way to go. Like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, this device does have the Xbox full screen experience, which up until like 2 days ago was exclusive to this device. Now it seems like everyone's getting it, which means that one of its main selling features is now something that everyone has, which is fine, although that's a good thing because the Xbox full screen experience is miles better for handheld gaming than the regular Windows 11 home screen, which is terrible. The desktop is the worst. As much as you wouldn't think that form factor makes a huge difference, honestly, I found myself playing this device more than anything else. I know the Lenovo Legion Go 2 is a top-of-the-line experience, and I love it, and if I had to only have one, it would probably be that one, but this one just feels so much better in the hand. It's lighter, it's easier to carry around. The screen is fine. I mean, the screen really doesn't bother me that much. It's only when you see it up against other nicer screens that you're like, ah. I mean, the bezels do suck. But other than that, this device is great. It's just as powerful as the other devices. Maybe not just as powerful, but very close to the other devices. And if you're looking for a great experience right now, which isn't as future-proofed as the Lenovo Legion Go 2, but in a lot of ways beats that device because it's just easier to hold, this just feels like you're playing a game console. And that's huge for me. Like, genuinely, as a console gamer, this is really the way that I feel most comfortable. But then we get to the dark horse, the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus, which has AI in the name because it has AI-controlled TDP if you turn that on. I wouldn't. It's not that great. It leaves it at 17 watts the whole time, but I actually haven't used the AI since I first reviewed it, so maybe it's gotten better. I probably should have for this video, but I didn't. That being said, the screen is beautiful, the device is powerful. I've had the most consistently smooth experience playing games recently on these three devices, again, because I think this one has been optimized for the last year versus these ones, which are newer. MSI really turned things around. With the previous MSI Claw that released before this, it was terrible. This new one is genuinely a very, very good handheld experience, and at $1,000, the same price as the ROG Xbox Ally, and slightly better performance, which I might add because it's got 32 gigabytes of RAM, and again, it's optimized. This is a really good option if you don't want to spend the full price on the Lenovo Legion Go 2, but you still want a larger screen than the ROG Xbox Ally X. While this might not be my first choice in any other category other than Intel-based gaming handheld PCs, I do think it's a really great device, and it's up there with the other guys. It's really up there. So again, I'd say pick it if you want the biggest screen on a device for $1,000 that performs incredibly well. But hey, subscribe if you haven't yet. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next one.